When did you know who you are? Did you perhaps discover yourself in college, or backpack to the world's safest countries and dub it your bravest adventure? Or maybe, just maybe, you discovered yourself when death dripped around you like rain. You had to choose safety and abandonment, or malice and loyalty. Close the curtains, dim the lights, ignore the strangers around you as we delve into the faith of the Faceless. Good evening, caller. Please state your full name in relation to the horror.
I am John Callahan McCain, and I survived. I don't really know what to call it, to be honest. I guess the closest thing that makes any sense is calling it a sacrifice, or no, a sacrificial hunt. Maybe, maybe that's better.
Mr. McCain, you seem taut. Are you alright?
I just got out of there like maybe 2 hours ago. Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, okay, but still a little shook, you know.
Are you certain you are safe?
Yeah. They never leave the valley. And I am in Fort Simpson now.
Is anyone injured, John?
Dead?
Have you contacted any form of authority?
No one else. It won't help anyway. They'll find the bodies, but they won't find the creatures or people or whatever they were. I need you to go out there.
Me?
I saw a man with sick, yellow skin, bald, and weird, bright blue eyes. He told me, send my greetings to Crowley.
From the beginning. Breathe in, breathe out.
Okay. The four of us. We just graduated from university. George was, a fresh industrial engineer. He had a job offer waiting for him in Vancouver. Lewis would have gone into teaching in the city, and Marshall wanted to do his master's in environmental studies. They wanted to do a last fun and dumb thing before starting real lives. They decided on Nahanni Valley. Remote enough our kids would one day say, wow, and enough spooky legends to make horoscope girls blush. They knew I just graduated pilot school through mutual friends, so they invited me to join. I didn't have a lot of friends, just two, really, and both of them were moving to Toronto, so, why not? We rented a float plane in Fort Simpson and flew into the park. Looking down at the Nahanni River, it looked like some sort of Australian snake, blue with white stripes. The cliffs sloped downward like prison cell walls. Marshall joked, where down there do you guys think the McLeod brothers died? Lewis pointed to my purity ring, probably the same place John's chances at getting laid did. They laughed. I dipped the plane, just a little. We landed on the river near the spot the McLeods died. They really wanted to camp close to where their corpses were found, so I mapped it out beforehand. I knew they realized where we were camping when Lewis gave out a loud "bro" yell next to the old burnt black cabin. Marshall helped me gather supplies for a fire while the others set up camp. He talked about his fraternity hazing in freshman year. I nodded along to stories of copious alcohol and how he hazed his freshmen when his turn came. I tried to talk about how me and my friends spent freshman year creating the largest D&D group in Vancouver. He just continued talking about hazing freshmen with lighters and shaving cream. The two bright blue tents contrasted with the burnt black cabin. George and Lewis did a decent job with them. George helped us bring the firewood into the camp. Lewis opened a can of beer. Lewis and Marshall were drunk, probably within the hour. George took a bit longer. Lewis told me I need to be more of a bro next time, right before he passed out. I tried to drink, but honestly, I don't like drinking, so I didn't get past 2 bottles, and someone needed to make sure the fire didn't burn us into a mirror image of the cabin. While they were all asleep, I heard howls too high-pitched and short for gray wolves, maybe a different type of wolf? Like the sound Bigfoot hunters make because Bigfoot sounds like a dying woman, they say. And it happened every 2 hours. Sometimes closer, sometimes farther.
Pack or alone?
Lone, most of the time. There would be a pack howling back every now and then. The lone wolf was in the valley, while the pack's voices came from the mountains. I think the lone one, must have been hunting because it went quiet for a bit. That's when the moose cried. Close. The crashing of moose body through the thicket and the almost human wail. Then the thud and another lone howl. Different this time. The mountaintops encircling us spewed collective howls. It grew in pitch every second until one deep growl silenced them all. One last yelp from the lone creature.
Did the howling choir awaken your companions?
I asked them if they heard anything. They said no, but the bags under their eyes told me something kept them from sleeping. I wanted to go hiking, they wanted to go fishing, but George was kind enough to go with me into the woods.
Why not go alone?
I wanted a chance to bond with them. I didn't want to be friendless by the time my 2 best friends left for Toronto. George was nicer than the other 2. He asked about pilot school, about my D&D. He warned me the other 2 wanted to haze me into the friend group last night, but he talked them out of doing anything crazy. On the hike, we spotted the moose from the previous night. Headless. No wolf tracks. Just long, deep fissures in the mud shaped like human feet. The spine was removed alongside the head, and there were no wounds on the rest of the body.
No spine could entail the removal of the head through force alone. Furthermore explains the lack of bodily wounds.
Yeah, it was, yeah. We didn't hike much further. At the camp, Lewis and Marshall were barbecuing the fish and already at least 4 beers in. They crowded me like vultures, shouting hazing enough times to make the dead know hazing was on its way. My induction into the friend group meant I had to kill a squirrel and smear its blood on my body. Of course, wearing nothing but underwear.
You agreed to this.
I was lonely after high school. During COVID. Before I met my 2 best friends. I didn't want to go through that again. When the sun had set and the moon was hidden behind the clouds, they set me out with our wood chopping axe. I found a squirrel climbing up a tree and raised my axe. The solo howling started again. It was close. The squirrel was still there. I couldn't do it. There was no reason to hurt it. I'd just find other friends. On the walk back, I heard the howl in ecstatic repetition. Every second a howling shriek. At first I couldn't hear Marshall's screams, but the closer I got, the easier it was to hear the different voices. A gorilla voice roaring compared to Marshall crying. I think Marshall was begging. No, please spare me. When I arrived, it was just Headless Lewis, spiked onto the old wood cabin's logs. The same long human tracks with cracks in the ground led away from where George and Marshall's footsteps stopped. The same howls from the previous night invaded the night air as I tracked the trail of footsteps and splatters of blood through the woods. Up the mountain, to the moose skull and spine-decorated cave entrance. The Sasquatch-like howls creeping from the inside. footsteps crashing to the entrance, I hid in a bush. Out trudged a 7-foot bone-pale man. On his emaciated neck, his whole head was covered in decrepit wolf pelt, almost furless from time. His black-brown eyes crawling over the horizon. He jolted back his head and outrushed the deep rumble from the previous night. All the mountaintops went silent. He grabbed a large, infernal burning bush with a human skull before trudging back inside. The bush behind me complained with twig snaps. I jumped around. Behind me stood that man, the bald, bright, blue-eyed one, dressed in coffin black, monk-like vestments. I swear there was a language inscribed on his chest in an alphabet I've never seen. "Send my greetings to Crowley," he said. He glided to the cave entrance with a book in his hands and an inkless pen. I followed, don't know why. Down the cave steps, closer to ritualistic whispers translated into grunts. There was a light at that bottom, flickering, ecstatic dancing, circling a doll sheep. The sheep tried to escape between the flames and the dancers. It rammed into one of them. She caught it by the horns and slammed it down on the ground. Holding down the body with one hand and groping a horn with the other, she ripped his head and spine from the body. The inhuman thing's bleeding while she holds its head up. The man guiding me did not seem bothered by it at all. I snuck down into a dark crevice where the 7-foot beast with the wolf cloak was visible on a throne of bones. Antlers everywhere on the ground. Everyone in there had different animal skins draped over their heads except the children and a few shorter ones. I say short, but they were easily 5'10", yet their faces looked like 17-year-olds. One had moose skin over his head, maybe. It doesn't matter. One of the teenagers had Marshall and George on his back with Lewis's head in his hand. He placed their breathing bodies in front of wolf skin. He imitated sounds like words. The teenager nodded. He threw Lewis's head to the other teenager, and the tribe smashed their fists onto the cave wall. Each with their own rhythm, fighting the other in a cacophony of echoes. The teenager gripped his fingers over Lewis's skull, and I didn't watch.
Good.
Marshall and George woke up during the drumming. George stayed still. Marshall tried to run away. They repeated the same story. The teenage woman encircled him. He slipped away beneath one and almost reached the stairs. So, almost. She grabbed his ankle and flicked her wrist to twist it off. She...
We understand, John. You may neglect telling us.
It was just George left. I wanted to help him, to do something, but all I could think about, all I could stupidly think of was howling. It came out like a dog. The creature people stopped everything, stared at the cave stairs. Wolf skin, grunted vowels and consonants. Everyone except the teenager that brought George and Marshall barreled up the stairs. The teenager slithered his steps to George. Guttural mutters with saliva falling from its mouth. I slipped into the chamber. A small pool of collected water reflected the creature's face. It's not fully human. Uncanny Valley. Its eyes just too far apart. Its mouth a little too low. Strangely clamped chin and ears poised an inch too far back. It groped George's hand and licked from the fingertip to his neck. I picked up a caribou antler. It was breathing in and out with rabid breaths. I think it was wheezing from laughter. The antler caved in its skull. I pulled George up, dragging him to the stairs. Thuds were coming down. We hid in the crevice long enough for the creatures to spot their exterminated tribesmen. Wolfskin shot his gaze to the crevice. We fucking ran out of there. They tore open the night sky with their shrieks. We got out of the cave and hurtled to the trees. Wolfskin's breaths audibly close behind us. The others scattered into different directions. Wolfskin lunged a hairy hand forward and grabbed George's shirt. He wrenched George back. George screamed for me. I didn't stop. I didn't stop! I had the antler in my fucking hands, but I didn't go back to fight, or we didn't even make it to the trees, Crowley! We fucking did it!
John, you are not there anymore. You are safe. Take a moment. You explained before you could reach the trees. Wolfskin and snare, George. How far were the trees from the cave?
I don't know. Maybe 10 meters?
And how far was the chamber from the cave entrance?
Probably another 10.
If this creature reached George under 20 meters, he was always going to die, John. I am sorry.
But maybe I should have died, not him. Or at least died trying to save him.
Survivor's Guild is speaking now. When you are home, you must see a therapist. All right, John.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll do that.
What happened next?
I hurtled down the mountain to the float plane. I could hear the tribe howling all around me. One of the creatures with a caribou mask tore through the trees on the right and grabbed my hip and hurled me onto its shoulder. I sliced open its back with the antler. We fell to the ground. It screeched short bursts of breath. Looked back, a handful of those things reached her. They checked her pulse, was the last thing I saw. The float plane was maybe 25 meters away, but there was one more creature standing there. The teenager, wearing Lewis's shredded face. I swear. It was grunting laughs. It charged at me. I charged at the water. 2 meters from the water, it grabbed my shirt, just like Wolfskin with George. It ripped me to him, but before it could get its feral claws on my skull, I broke its hand with the antler. It dropped, and I vaulted into the river, the stream dragging me closer to the float plane. The creature saw my plan, barreled into the water. I opened the plane door, scrambled to the seat. Ignition, it was on the float. It tore open the door, stuck in its talons, and I shot the motherfucker in his roaring mouth with a flare gun. The demon fell into the water. I took off. The rest of the demon family figured out I was on the river, pelted me with stones. A few brave idiots swam closer, but I was already 10 meters in the air when any even came close. I could hear the creatures wailing up until 150 meters high. After that, it got quiet. It was just me and the plane. Me. The stars and empty seats, where not even 3 days ago 3 other young and dumb 20-somethings sat. I was alone again. I remembered your show, flying in. Remember the blue-eyed man saying your name? Remember the police won't believe that hair, bone pale, half people killed 3 guys?
People swear by convenience, not truth. Thank you, John, for your story. Are you able to get to Vancouver safely? Or do you need my services?
I can get home just fine, but I need you to go back out there. That man has to know something about those things, and about you.
In time, John. I do harbor one question before concluding for tonight.
Yeah?
You carried, I believe, the only weapon in the camp. An axe, correct?
Yes, I was hunting squirrels with it when the creature attacked.
Yet in the cave you traded your axe for a caribou antler.
No, I didn't have my axe in the cave.
Where did it disappear to?
Oh, my. Fuck. That strange man. After he brushed past me, it was gone.
Thank you for spending your time with us, dear audience. Please leave a positive review in your podcast app of choice and spread the news of our little listening ritual. Until next week, I am your host, Crowley, and remember to search the dark corners of your life. Who knows?